Weddings are supposed to be about beginnings, a promise, a future, a shared heartbeat that says forever. But mine? Mine became the final chapter of a love story that died before it even began. Her name was Sophie, the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. She was radiant, charming, the kind of person who made rooms brighter just by walking in. When I proposed to her under the old oak tree where we first kissed, she cried and said I was the man she'd waited for all her life. For 2 years, I built my world around her, the house, the savings, the plans. We picked a date, invited family and friends, booked a beautiful countryside venue with white roses and string lights. Everything was perfect, until it wasn't. It started with something small, a text that lit up her phone one night while she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. Her phone was on the dresser, screen facing up, and the message simply said, "Can't wait to see you again." Same place, followed by a red heart. My heart froze. My mind immediately tried to rationalize it, maybe a friend, a joke, a wrong number. But deep down, I knew. I waited until she came out, wrapped in a towel, and asked casually, "Who's texting you so late?" She glanced at her phone, then back at me, too quickly. "Oh, just Emma from work," she said, shrugging. But Emma was at our wedding party, and I knew her texts didn't end with hearts. I smiled, said nothing, and kissed her forehead. Inside, though, something shifted. The next day, while she was at her final dress fitting, I did something I'd never done before. I followed her. She told me she was going with her maid of honor. But instead, she drove to a downtown hotel. I parked across the street and waited. 15 minutes later, a man walked up to her car, tall, clean-cut, wearing the same blue shirt I'd seen in one of her old college photos. He leaned in through the window, kissed her. My fiancée. My bride-to-be. I didn't cry. I didn't move. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, watching the life I'd planned disintegrate. When they went inside, I followed quietly, heart pounding. The receptionist barely noticed me as I slipped into the elevator right after them, stopping 2 floors below theirs. I texted her, "How's the dress fitting going?" A few seconds later, I heard her phone ping through the thin hotel walls above. Then silence. Then laughter. I took a photo of the door number and left. That night, I didn't confront her. I wanted to be God, I wanted to scream, but something in me wanted more than anger. I wanted truth, proof, and justice. So I called my best friend, Adam, who happened to be a photographer. I told him everything. He didn't hesitate. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked. I said, "I'm sure." The next day, we went back to the hotel. I rented the room directly opposite hers. Adam set up a camera with a telephoto lens aimed through the slightly open curtains. It felt cruel, invasive, but what she'd done was worse. And that evening, right on schedule, Sophie arrived with the same man. The camera caught everything, the kisses, the wine, the lies dressed as love. I had all I needed. 2 days before the wedding, I met her at the venue for the final rehearsal. She was radiant, laughing, surrounded by friends, the picture of innocence. She kissed me and said, "I can't believe we're almost there." I smiled. Me neither. That night, I didn't sleep. I spent hours deciding what to do, to cancel quietly or expose her publicly. Then I remembered her words when she said she'd never forgive a liar, that honesty mattered most to her. I decided to give her exactly that, honesty, in front of everyone she'd lied to. The day of the wedding arrived, bright and golden. Guests filled the garden, soft music floated through the air, and Sophie walked down the aisle like an angel in white. Everyone stood, smiling. I could feel my chest tighten as she approached. When she reached me, she whispered, "You look nervous." I smiled faintly. "You have no idea." The ceremony began. The officiant asked if anyone had any reason these two should not be joined. I took a deep breath and said, "Actually, I do." A murmur spread through the crowd. Sophie froze, confusion flickering across her face. Daniel, what are you? I pulled my phone from my pocket, connected it to the projector we'd planned to use for our reception slideshow, and said, before I say I do, I think everyone deserves to see what love looks like when it's real, and when it's fake. The first photo appeared on the big screen, Sophie and her lover at the hotel, kissing passionately. Gasps filled the air. Her father stood up in shock. Her maid of honor covered her mouth. Sophie's face drained of all color. Daniel, please, stop, she stammered, stepping forward, but I didn't. I let the video play, a short clip of her laughing in that man's arms, timestamped just 48 hours earlier. The silence that followed was absolute. I looked at her, trembling, humiliated, exposed, and said, you said you wanted a wedding everyone would remember. Congratulations, you got it. She tried to speak, tears streaking her makeup, but her words died in her throat. Her lover, apparently unaware of my plan, was standing in the back row. I looked at him and said, you can have her. He turned and walked out without a word. The guests whispered, the officiant awkwardly closed his book, and Sophie collapsed onto a chair, sobbing. I turned to the crowd and said quietly, I won't marry a liar. But I thank you all for coming. Then I walked away. The applause that followed wasn't cruel, it was sympathy. People murmured words of support as I passed. Even her own mother whispered, I'm so sorry. In the weeks that followed, Sophie tried to call me dozens of times, messages, tears, apologies that meant nothing. I never answered. I refunded what I could, donated the leftover catering to a shelter, and disappeared for a while. The video leaked online, not by me, but by someone at the venue who'd recorded it. It went viral, titled The Groom Who Exposed the Bride. I didn't care for fame, but I did care for closure. Months later, Sophie sent me one last message, I ruined everything. I wish you hadn't shown them. I replied only once, I didn't ruin it, you did. I just stopped pretending. Now, every year when that wedding date rolls around, I don't mourn it. I remember it as the day I got my life back. Because sometimes, exposing the truth isn't revenge, it's release. And walking away from a liar on your wedding day is still better than spending a lifetime with one.